hoje.
In the dead of night, under a stormy sky, the once thriving city now stood desolate and forgotten. Known as the Dark City, it had long been abandoned, its streets overrun by mist and its buildings crumbling from neglect. The wind howled through the empty alleys, carrying with it whispers of fear and foreboding. Through the fog, a shadow moved, a figure wearing a fedora hat and a red and green striped sweater. It was Freddy Krueger, the infamous nightmare stalker, his face horribly burned, with a twisted grin spread across his scarred features. His bladed glove gleamed as he stepped forward, each movement a promise of terror. As Freddy scanned the eerie surroundings, a soft chuckle echoed through the mist. A figure emerged, stepping into the dim light of a flickering street lamp. It was Pennywise the dancing clown, his face painted white, lips blood red, and eyes glowing with a malevolent yellow. His colorful clown costume was a stark contrast to the darkness around him, but his presence was just as menacing. "Hello, Freddy," Pennywise hissed, his voice a mix of childlike glee and malevolence. "It's time for a little fun." Freddy smirked, his claws flexing. "I hope you're ready for a real nightmare, clown." Far away, deep within the dark and misty forest that bordered the city, two other killers were locked in a deadly battle. Jason Voorhees, the hulking, silent giant in his hockey mask, wielded a machete that glistened with fresh blood. Opposite him stood Michael Myers, the embodiment of evil, wearing his iconic white mask and holding a large, gleaming knife. The forest was alive with the sounds of their brutal clash, the clash of metal, the crunch of leaves underfoot, and the heavy breathing of two unstoppable forces. Jason swung his machete with savage power, each strike aimed to kill. Michael parried with his knife, his movements precise and deliberate. Neither spoke a word, their silence more chilling than any scream. Back in the city, Freddy and Pennywise's battle had reached a fever pitch. Freddy's claws slashed through the air, each swipe aimed at the clown's grinning face. Pennywise danced around him, taunting, his form shifting and changing. One moment a clown, the next a monstrous spider, then a writhing mass of shadows. "You can't kill me, Freddy," Pennywise taunted. "I am fear itself." Freddy laughed, a dark, sinister sound. "And I am the master of nightmares." The battle raged on, the very air around them crackling with dark energy. The ground beneath their feet began to split, revealing a portal to a twisted, nightmare world, Freddy's domain. Buildings warped and twisted, shadows lengthened, and the sky turned a blood-red hue. Suddenly the scene shifted. All four killers, Freddy, Pennywise, Jason, and Michael, found themselves in the center of the city, in a vast, empty square. The fog had thickened, swallowing the buildings, and the only light came from the pale, sickly glow of the moon. They stood facing each other, a moment of tense silence hanging in the air. Freddy's eyes gleamed with dark intent. "Looks like we have a party." Pennywise's grin widened, his eyes glowing with hunger. "I do love a good feast." Jason gripped his machete tighter, ready for another kill, while Michael stood motionless, his eyes cold and dead behind his mask. The ground shook violently as the portal expanded, tendrils of dark energy reaching out, wrapping around the four killers. A blinding light erupted from the center of the square, consuming everything in its path. The air was filled with the sounds of their screams, mingling with the howls of the storm. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the light faded. The city was silent once more, its streets empty, its buildings standing like silent sentinels in the dark. The mist began to recede, and the wind died down to a whisper. In the middle of the square, the ground was scorched, the only evidence of the epic battle that had taken place. The four killers were gone, pulled back into the darkness from which they came, their fight unfinished, their thirst for blood unquenched. But the city remained, a silent witness to their horror, waiting for the day they would return to resume their dark game. The Dark City would never be the same, haunted by the echoes of a nightmare that refused to die.